Okay, it looks like we are live here. It's so great to be here. Thanks to Llewellyn and thanks to all of you for logging in for my talk, which I titled Spirit Communication and Lucid Dreams. For those who aren't familiar with me yet, I'm Nikki Wardwell, Sleath, and I am a professional occult teacher, practitioner, and author. And I have just had my third book come out with Llewellyn, which is Dream Sorcery, which has some of the material that we're going to talk about today and much, much more. Just my basic background, I have been practicing and studying witchcraft since I was about 21. I'm 52 now, so a good 3 decades. I have formal training in the craft, in the Religious Order of Witchcraft, as well as a Master's of the Arts in Integrative Health and Healing and all kinds of other respected shamanic certifications. And this has really culminated and come together in a very in-depth, unique practice. One of the certifications and practices that I have as well is that of active dreaming, as trained in the Robert Moss School of Active Dreaming, which has informed my dream work quite a bit. So anyway, all this being said, I really felt that the book Dream Sorcery, which just came out last month with Llewellyn, was highly needed. And the reason is that there are lucid dream books out there where you can learn about the practice of lucid dreaming, but most of them are written not for the magical practitioner. Most of them are written with the idea in mind that your dreams are just a product of your own thoughts and your own mind, and that things in the dream always represent you. And this does not work well, I find, for me as a magical practitioner, because with such long-term in-depth studies of the occult, I truly believe that dreams are transpersonal and transtemporal, meaning that our awareness when we sleep and it softens from the body, that we are moving into all kinds of different experiences in various realities where we are having real interactions with other spirits beyond ourselves, and where we can experience things outside of this exact time and space where the physical body is located, such as precognitive dreams, revisiting the past, and all kinds of other iterations in sort of a multiverse format of thinking. So I developed a personal practice of lucid dreaming many years ago, and have been merging my magical practice and my lucid dreaming practice together for a couple of decades now. And in the documenting of that, what I have found is that there really is no better place, no better medium for the practicing of magical skill, the performing of divination, the experiences of time travel and shape-shifting, and especially spirit work, if you tend to bring aspects of the spirit model of magic into your magical practice. So I created this book to really give the magical practitioner a view, a very in-depth view of what it would be like to merge the lucid practice and the magical practice. So I have created this in an alchemical format, such that the book is broken down into 3 sections of the salt, the mercury, and the sulfur. And this is because I believe that lucid dreaming is the ideal alchemical laboratory for personal, spiritual, and magical evolution. There is no other place while we are physically embodied that we can full on function the spirit and perform any of the magic that we wish to perform without the limitations of these physics and this reality dampening the effect. So it does so much for cultivating our relationship to magic and exploring consciousness and energy, which are the foundation of everything. So as an alchemical laboratory, it is an amazing place. And I believe that that's the dream time in general, and that we need to value it, both lucid and all of our spontaneous dreams as well. It's just as important to pay attention to those too. But if you can cultivate lucidity and perform some magical work in the lucid space, this is what I believe, metaphorically, is the philosopher's stone of personal spiritual evolution. Meaning that, so the philosopher's stone, right, is the missing substance that, had the alchemists of antiquity had it in their experiments, would have tipped the chemistry in their favor for turning lead into gold, for taking that which is of an unrefined state and moving it into something that is perfectly balanced and embodies the magic of all of the elements in a high vibrational way. Lead to gold is that metaphor. So the philosopher's stone for me is lucidity. When you find that missing ingredient, everything comes together. The ancient alchemists, one of the reasons why they wanted to do these experiments physically in the lab with these minerals is because they understood that there was great wisdom in the processes of the earth, and that such amazing minerals actually form here of their own unique evolution, but that it takes, millions of years for that process of things moving from the vegetable to the high vibrational mineral that we see in gold, for example, to happen. And that in our short, finite lifespan, we would never be able to witness the fullness of that process. They felt that the lead to gold process would give the practitioner wisdom that, if witnessed, would soak into your own conscious awareness and your auric field and help you perpetuate your personal magical and spiritual growth. So lucid dreaming allows us to do that. It allows us to experience things in a way that we can't do here while physically embodied, under the time and the limitations that we are subject to. So with those three sections of the book, therefore, the salt gives you, that section is about reviewing some of the foundations as a magician for lucid dreaming, and it's full of techniques and exercises and explanations of all different things that you need to know. That being said, this is not a 101 book or a primer, so I do have a lot of resources for you to flesh out your basics further if you need it. But I do give that sort of review of the foundations at the start. The Mercury section of the book is descriptions of all of the amazing magic that you can actually perform while you're sleeping in the lucid state of dreaming. You can, the name of the book is Dream Sorcery, The Ritual and Magic of Lucid Dreaming. So you can do all kinds of things that we can't fully do here. And yet when we dream, our cortex still fires as if we were doing all of the things that we're doing in the dream with our physical body. Meaning, like, if you're running in a dream, your motor cortex is firing as though you were running. So you're really having that conscious experience, even though the physical body is not. So what does that mean when you do things in a lucid dream like fly, or shoot a blast of fire out of your hand to cleanse a space, or see what the result is of casting a banishing pentagram energetically in the air. We don't know what that would neurologically look like on an EEG, and yet we get to experience it in dreaming. And when you're lucid, you fully know that you are dreaming, and you remember everything about your physical life. And I'll get back to that in a second. But so I talk about all the magic you can do in that sleeping state. And then the last section of the book, the sulfur, are the transformative acts of soul that you choose to do. So that's about the waking magic. So in the sulfur section of the book, I give you ways to build spells you can do while you're awake to predispose you to becoming lucid, so that you can create this virtuous cycle of magical evolution that is just the most gratifying thing I have experienced in my life. So very passionate about it, as you can see. And I really felt that this was missing and needed, and that magicians have not been taught to really fuse these two things together. Okay, so and what is lucid dreaming, as I mentioned? So lucid dreaming is when your body is asleep and you are in a dream, but you suddenly remember who you are, where your body is in ordinary reality. You will remember everything that you intended to do in this state, and you will not be afraid of anything going on in the dream if you are 100% lucid. This being said, there are lesser degrees of lucidity where you may not have all of your faculties available, and I don't consider those to be a full-on lucid dream, because I know there's going to be a lot of questions about that. There's going to probably be a lot of questions in general that we don't have time for in this in this talk, which you're welcome to reach out to me in the future, or read the book, which gives you a lot of answers and techniques to use. So it does take, for most people, discipline and practice that can be difficult to come by, in order to really develop frequent lucidity. But it is so worth it, and it's a win-win situation. Because here's the thing, all of the things that you should do to try to predispose yourself to lucidity benefit you in every other aspect of your magical practice. It's meditation. It's closely inspecting the nature of your reality all the time. And it is really journaling diligently, valuing that moment of dream recall, being able to practice watching your mind as it undertakes the process of falling asleep. These things take some discipline and some diligence and some practice, but you will only gain in mental clarity by doing them, which will help all of your other things that you like to do, such as divination and meditation and magical manifestation. So it's a win-win, even if you don't become lucid frequently. And even if you work at this for a long time and have one great lucid dream, it is so amazing that it will have been worth it. Okay, so I chose to focus in on summoning spirits as one of the examples of things that are so beneficial for magical practitioners to do in the lucid state. So this is only one of many aspects of magic that I discuss in the book, though, but I knew in 30 minutes we had to hone it down. So when you summon so let's say you become lucid in your dream and you wish to speak to the goddess Freya. You have worked magic with her, you look up to her, you consider her a guide, and she'd be a perfect being to try to speak with. By the way, you can summon and interact with easily and on purpose in lucid dreams any kind of spirit you want. So I'm talking about deities because this appeals to a lot of us who might be sort of typical polytheistic pagan witches and magicians, but it can be deities, angels, goetic spirits, fae, ancestors, beloved dead, animal spirits, local spirits, other kinds of guides, avatars, servitors, familiars, plant spirits, even the spirits of other living human beings, which can be more tricky, but you can do it, and even the elusive holy guardian angel. And I have done all of that holy guardian angel work with, I still did the traditional workup over many months of developing the rituals of evocation and performing this in the physical plane. But I augmented my process by interacting with the holy guardian angel, or what I actually call the cosmic genius, because it's not an angel for me like you would think. But, and I thought, wow, I mean, my holy guardian angel work happened really well, really smoothly. And did I cheat by getting an advanced look at the nature of this being in lucidity, and also finding out his name and other things, and starting to feel his energy signature in lucidity beforehand? And then I thought, no, I did not cheat, because I still carried out the process that is traditional, ritually and ceremonially on the physical plane. And all of the things that it takes to have such a diligent, lucid practice are the same types of things that are cultivated in the meditative practices and the building up of amount of time spent in ritual each day that is traditional to the holy guardian angel process. So you can really do this for all kinds of spirit interactions, big and small. So back to my original example that I was going to go into. Let's say you, your intention is that the next time that you have a lucid dream, you want to summon Freya. Well, first, what you should do is have your statement ready to go before you ever go to sleep, because sometimes you only get to hold lucidity for a bit, and you don't want to waste time or risk being lurched back out of that precious state before you get to execute your plan. So you might have a statement ready to go in your mind that is your lucid dream plan. And I talk a lot in the book about lucid dream plan setting and execution. But let's say it is, I summon the great goddess Freya from Norse mythology. You would just yell that command out to the dream space after realizing that you had become lucid in a dream. It is important to look at your wording, because if you say, I summon you, Freya, and I kid you not, you might just get some chick named Freya who shows up, some other spirit. And you'll know there's something about the thought responsiveness of the environment of lucid dreaming that is so keen and so clear and crystal, more real feeling to me than this life, actually. There's something about it where you will know the validity of what is happening before you, how organic it is in response to your request. And sometimes if you say, I summon the goddess Freya from Norse mythology, you might end up receiving an influx of her energy. And it could occur in any form that you didn't expect. She doesn't necessarily then just walk up to you in a humanoid version that you may have expected, where you're face to face having a conversation with this being. But that's fine. However, if you really are craving having a face to face, then you actually need to say that in your summoning statement. You need to say, I want to have a face-to-face conversation with you, goddess Freya of Norse mythology. Be very specific. So oftentimes what will happen is you may execute a spirit summoning, and then something happens and you have an experience, and then you'll wake up because it's emotional and it's amazing, and you'll document it, right? But you may want more. So that experience will then help you to determine the wording of what you might want your next lucid dream plan to be as a follow-up. Because oftentimes what happens is you have one experience and then you want to go deeper. So another thing that is very important with what we've just been saying is, once you shout out your command to the lucid dream space, It is very important that you do not control the results. One thing that people like about lucid dreaming, especially a lot of lay people who aren't necessarily magicians, they love lucid dreaming because they can control it, and you can. I can sit there in a lucid dream and go, I put a tree there, I disappear that wall, I transport myself to Salem 1692. I can do whatever I want. But in the case of summoning like this, we don't want to control it. That would be like asking the tarot cards a question and pulling out the card that you choose that you want to answer it. That's not divination, right? We want the result to be organic and natural and a real connection to intelligence that exists beyond us. So what you do is you put out, so let's say you shout, I summon you, great goddess Freya of Norse mythology. After I state my sentence, I take a deep breath and I exhale, and I've trained myself to connect this action of exhaling with coming to a brief moment of that no thought space in my mind so I can release all expectation and creative thought from the process so that the dream itself and other intelligent beings that are getting the message can respond to me on their own without me influencing the outcome. So it's really important to develop an ability like that to release expectation, clear your mind to a blank slate, and accept whatever comes in response. And by the way, you should practice such a technique, like build such a technique for yourself here in waking, and try to use it with all of your waking divinations. And that will help you get better at those. And it will, like I'm saying, there's a virtuous cycle here. It will also greatly enhance anything that you do as a lucid dream plan. By the way, that clearing of the slate and releasing of expectation should be done after the prompting of any lucid dream plan where you're looking for an exploratory response, not just spirit summoning. Now, I mentioned that you can get lurched out of lucidity and lose hold of it pretty easily. Things like a big energy surge, which often come from deities, and receiving an energy infusion from a deity is an amazing thing that can happen as a result of one of these summonings, by the way. You can feel the energy in the physical body long after waking for quite a while, and I swear it rewires your auric field. And it really helps your magic to become more and more and more effective with every one of these interactions that you have. I can't prove this to you, which is why I want you to have your own experiences and start to cultivate this for your own so that there are more and more people out there who understand just how profound this is, just how important this is. So in order to not get sucked out by the big energy infusion or, the emotional surges that can happen in lucidity, you want to be nicely anchored in that space. So it's good divination hygiene, to be able to clear the mental slate, anchor into the space, and wait and accept. If you're finding that when you try to summon spirits in lucidity, the results are so big that it is pulling you out, you can start with communicating with spirits in that space without a full-on summoning. So one technique that I've found that works really well is just asking a question of a deity in the lucid space. So I'm a devotee of the Morrigan, for one. And I will, for example, say in the lucid space, on Morrigan, great queen, what is an important point that I should write in this next chapter of my book? So instead of summoning her, I'm just asking her almost through the lucid space like a telephone. And then I literally pull on my ear as though I'm listening for someone to whisper the response, and she'll speak it into my ear. This allows me to stay really anchored in my dream body so that I'm not bowled over. If it's not a big energy infusion that I'm looking for at that moment, if my lucid dream plan was to ask a spirit or deity a question, I'll sometimes do that because then I can remain anchored and move on to my next priority, lucid dream plan, before losing hold of the state altogether. So anyway, I feel like I've been talking a mile a minute and trying to get a lot of this out to you guys. And I'd love to leave a couple of minutes for questions. But before I do that, two things. So one, I invite you right now to think about, if you were to become lucid in your dreams tonight, who would you want to speak to or summon? And even more specifically than that, I invite you to write down your exact lucid dream plan for this purpose, because guess what? Here's the good news. Even listening to a talk about lucid dreaming or reading a book about lucid dreaming causes a slightly increased chance that you'll become lucid just by you having spent time thinking about it. This is why I continue to take Lucid Dream 101 classes all the time. I read every single book on dreaming I can get my hands on, because every moment I spend thinking about this helps me cultivate moments of lucidity in my own practice. So think about what you would want your lucid dream plan to be. And the other thing that I was going to say is just that I know there are so many questions. There's a lot going by in the chat, and they're way up there now. And I'm only going to probably be able to answer a couple, but there are loads of, this is a big, thick book, actually. Like, this is not, like, you're really getting your money's worth with this book, for real. It's full of exercises, techniques, explanations, ideas. Even there's even a ritual template, like if you don't already have a very well fleshed out ritual practice, so that you can cast lucid dreaming spells awake to help you cultivate these experiences when you're asleep. And they will then continue to feed each other. Okay, so enough of that soapbox. Let me see. I'll just go right here. I see from Daryl, have you ever been attacked when you were reaching out to a deity or spirit by something or someone you were not reaching out for? Yes. And the thing is, though, when you're fully lucid, it doesn't matter because when you're fully lucid, you have every single capacity that you could possibly imagine. Meaning, I know that I can freeze time. I can hurtle that being off into another dimension with a flick of my wrist. And I even talk about that technique in the book. So I know where my body is, and I know my body isn't being harmed. And lucid dreaming is not like a direct portal. You're not opening a portal to something, to this reality. So even though I have encountered negative spirits in lucidity, I just vanquish them. So, and this brings up a whole nother rabbit hole. I am a devotee and priestess of certain deities, and they often give me missions to help get rid of negative spirits that are vampirizing people or plaguing people. They'll give me the name and ask me to go help them, because I'm one of those beings that can do that. And you can be one of those people too, who is able to sort of world walk into these other realities lucidly and do all kinds of deep magical work. The book is not a workbook. I mean, you can use it as such. Buy a second one and write in one of them. No, you can just use your dream journal. I actually start you off from the beginning by having you bless your dream journal in a special way, and then start doing a lot of like lucid dream writing prompts and planning and stuff in your dream journal, so that it's all right there for you. But there are loads of techniques to help you build your practice. Let's see. I go back up a little bit here. Oh, there's a lot of stuff going on in the chat. Which herbs or teas would you recommend to assist? So I personally like combinations of valerian root tea and lemon balm. A lot of people love mugwort. I find mugwort to be great in plant form under the pillow. in magical charms and sachets and things like that, and to be used in lucid dreams spells while waking. But I find mugwort teas and tinctures and the essential oil, well, I love them. And they're super, I like them better for helping augment waking readings. Well, like when I do tarot readings and shamanic work and stuff for clients, that is helpful, but it's a little bit too awake for me. Mugwort doesn't help me get sleepy, and in order to get lucid, you have to fall asleep and be literally dreaming. So I find clary sage to be a little bit more sleepy than mugwort in terms of like actual teas and things like that. And obviously you have to be careful with herbal stuff. I do talk about it in the book a bit as well. You have to know what's not toxic, what you can safely consume, and all of that. So just, the disclaimer stuff, you have to be responsible for those choices. But lemon balm, and that you can grow right in your own garden. That's the cheapest way because it's really expensive as an essential oil. So those are some of my favorites. Let's see, I guess we'll stop there. Thank you so much, everyone. You can find me, and I've been speaking at lots of conferences and podcasts and stuff like that. It's just my author name, .com. Nikki Wardwell Sleath.com is where links to all my stuff can be found. And we really need to go back to becoming a dreaming society again. So please join me in this. And wishing you bright and lucid dreams to all. Thank you.